that commit themselves, in my opinion, to every single student athlete in this room. So before Mr. Caballero leaves, how about a round of applause for him? Because it is incredibly deserved. This is going to move quick. I'm going to talk way faster than I actually move through this presentation. It's going to be interactive. My goal is to not bore you. There will be 6 individuals that will join me up here on stage at some point in the presentation. There are multiple ways to participate. I'll run you through that. But the truth is, I just flew across the country yesterday. I don't live in San Diego. I live close. I live in Los Angeles. I'll be in San Diego next week for the Major League Baseball winter meetings. But I do live in LA, and I do work in sports. I do work in entertainment, and I am from Westchester. I'll run you through all of that. But I came here today for you. That is no short of an exaggeration. I flew across the country, and I am on a 1 o'clock flight back to LA, where I will be in my place in Manhattan Beach by 6 p.m. tonight. But I came across the country for you because of Mr. Caballero and really your entire team here, because I know how much it matters. I was in your position once before. I was fortunate enough to be selected to be one of those student athlete leaders when I was in your spot, and it doesn't seem like it was that long ago. So when I was asked to be a part of this today, it was a no-brainer for me. And I always like to start every presentation the same. When I was in your spot, and I hate to sound like the old guy, whether it was in 8th grade or whether it was in 12th grade, I won the exact same superlative in the yearbook. And that was most talkative. And nothing has changed in 25 years. I will tell you, I also won loudest, and I am still the loudest voice in this room. But the reality is, I knew what my ability was. I had this unique ability to speak. I was a great talker. And 25, 30 years later, I have a full-time real job. I have a side passion project job. That's this, where talking is what I do. And the reason I shared that right off the bat is as we go through this presentation, I'm going to talk about ability. My ability was the ability to talk and talk well. I'm going to get to ability today, but I am going to at least lead you down a path for you to start thinking about what your ability is, and it has nothing to do with athletics. So why am I here? Who am I? Why Mark? Major League Baseball agent. I've spent 20 years in sports and entertainment. I'm sure there's Mets fans, Yankees fans, maybe you root for one of the other 30 teams in Major League Baseball. I deal with them all. I represent players on the Mets and the Yankees, and 28 other teams. I deal with people in the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, in NASCAR, in golf, in tennis. I deal with people in music. Yesterday I was texting literally with Morgan Wallen's manager. I deal with people that work in rap music, whether it's Post Malone or whether it is Drake. In fact, I live in Manhattan Beach, California. If this is my treadmill, Kendrick Lamar's is two over. I don't say any of that to brag about myself. I tell you that exclusively because I work in an industry where, yes, it seems exciting and incredibly fortunate to be doing that, but the conversations that I have with the Major League Baseball players, with the agents, with the managers of people in sports and in entertainment is exactly the same conversation I'm having with you today. And that is about character. That is about how any one of those superstars that you probably go to their games, cheer for them, follow their Instagram, buy tickets to their concerts, watch television shows, movies, whatever. Those individuals, their room for error with character now, it doesn't exist. Zero. There is no room for error anymore. And you're in the exact same position they are. And because you are student athlete leaders, you are the ambassadors for each of your respective schools, your responsibility is even higher than any other athlete around you. So your room for error, I would argue, is even less than the celebrity, because the celebrity pays people like me so that if something does go wrong, they can possibly find a way out of it, not you. And while for the athlete, the entertainer, sure, maybe they lose a contract, an endorsement deal. They'll bounce back. What's on the line for you? Getting suspended, possibly expelled. How many of you want to go off to college? Raise your hand high. Keep your hand up if you want to play a sport in college. Leave it up. That's over half the room. I'm arguing today, and I'm not here to tell, I'm here to show that what you have on the line, if your character is compromised, forget about playing in college, you might not be going to college. You don't have someone working for you full time that if something goes wrong, they'll try to make it right. You don't have that. So the expectation, the bar, the ability to have wiggle room if a mistake does happen, it doesn't really exist. And because you are student-athlete leaders, in charge of your teams, in charge of your teammates, heck, some of you are more the coach than your actual coach, and you know it. Your level of responsibility is like none other. And that's why I'm here, because I was in the position you were in once. And the reason I share the point about the athletes and the entertainers and making that connection is the same message that I and the other agents and the managers give to those high-profile individuals that you cheer for, buy music of, etc. is the same message you're getting today. And I don't know too many people out there that are student athletes at a high school on Long Island that are hearing the same message that the pros get. I'm from Westchester, no different than Nassau, Suffolk, Bergen, Fairfield. It's all greater New York City. It looks the same, the level of athletic competition is the same, academically it's about the same, the colleges you'll choose from, it's all about the same. Point being, I am you. I'm just a few years older. I went to Stonehill College. Some of you might be familiar with that. I was fortunate to play there. I played 4 years there. I was the team captain there. All right? And the only reason I bring that up is because many of you will probably select a school similar to that. Again, the parallel. You and I, very alike. And why am I really here? Because of a passion to help. I have a 24/7 job called Major League Baseball agent. I will fly from here back to LA, then drive to San Diego, be there for 3 days next week, then actually fly to Nashville to go to a conference, fly back to then go to Kentucky to go to a player's wedding who once upon a time played for the Yankees. I mean, it never ends. But I'm carving out about 40 minutes of my day because of the passion that I have to help you and your team. And your team starts right here with these 5 or 6 individuals sitting in the first couple of rows. That's why I'm here. So, I told you there's 2 ways to participate. Now, I don't even have to warn you. You've already been great. Option A is, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I'm going to ask you to raise your hand. At times, I'm going to use your voice. Yes, no, whatever. That's the main way to participate, the way I'm hoping you will. Sometimes I see people tuned out on their phone, horsing around, disturbing their neighbor. Then I have to jump off the stage, get into the crowd, get you involved, put you on the spot in front of all your peers. You don't want option B, trust me. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna have to deal with that here because I'm dealing with a bunch of leaders, but sometimes I do. And if you challenge me, I really will do it. It's bad enough that 6 of you don't realize that you're gonna participate in this presentation and have no idea what's coming, but you know, hey look, it's all about making adjustments, staying on your toes, right? It's all the same sports adages you hear. So let's get into it. This is a lot of words and I'm gonna help. So let's just do some Q&A since I'm up here. How many country music fans do we have? Raise your hand. Okay, that's a good group. How many rap fans do we have? Raise your hand. Bigger group. Okay. How many people either make or just love to watch TikTok videos? How many people...
Follow me.
I have a feeling this one might be my most... This one's got the best chance of being unanimous. How many video game players do we have? Well, actually, it's funny that it's just the first couple of rows of guys. Really in the back, none of you play video games? Come on. Try it again. Video games? All right, so it's a mixed bag. Whether it's the country music, whether it's the rap music, whether it's the video games, the TikTok videos, we get it, right? There's a reason I'm asking those questions, and I appreciate you participating with those. So here we go. Character matters now more than ever, all right? And you have to be aware that poor behavior can jeopardize far more than a high school career. Students must recognize and commit to their ABCs. Very simple, I'm gonna bang through this quick. A, accountability. B, balance. C, character. I told you about ability. Now, my ability was the ability to talk. I wasn't the best student, I had a 2.8. I was a decent player. Maybe I was all league at a school where there's 10 schools and the biggest was 1,000. It wasn't like I was some superstar D1. But I had a unique ability to talk. And it's carried me through life. It literally has been my calling card. I don't have a law degree to be a sports agent. In fact, I'm the only agent at the firm who didn't go to law school or master's. Okay, the ability to talk was my calling card. What's your ability? Every single one of you in this room, I'm not talking about on the field, I'm not even talking about in the classroom. You all have a unique ability. And I am challenging you this morning to think about what that ability is. Because you will be defined. I will argue you will have to account, not just here in high school, but through college and in life, on what that ability is. So this morning, start thinking about what that unique ability is that you have. Because you do something, I promise you do something better than everybody else. It's up to you to start defining what that ability is, because you will be held to account for it. For me, that's accountability. Balance. I asked you about the rap music, I asked you about country, who makes TikTok videos, who plays video games. I get it. Some of you in this room would love to do that 24 hours in a day. Some of you probably have tried to play video games for 24 hours. There used to be a time where I would go to like New York City or Los Angeles nightclubs, Hollywood, 11:30 midnight on a Thursday after a Dodger game with a player. Now that player wants to leave Dodger Stadium and go back to their hotel and play video games against some 15-year-old kid from Kansas because they're in a Fortnite tournament. I mean, that's real life. Guys don't go out anymore. I get the video game thing. I have players who get paid a lot of money to make TikTok videos. That is part of their release. That is part of their balance. Pro athletes, entertainers, all of these people that we look up to, they have considerable structure and balance to their life. They put X number of hours in a classroom. They study more than you'll ever know. You think they just show up at 4 o'clock, take a little batting practice or shoot around, then play a game at 7? They're at a stadium, they're at a ballpark at 1 o'clock in a classroom, studying analytics, scouting reports for hours before they start practicing, before they play a game. And then they get back to the hotel, or they get home and they blow off some steam, and they do the TikTok videos and the video games, and then of course they've got to eat and sleep, and the day starts over. There is balance to their schedule, and just like you, with your studying in this building, they're studying. Actors, studying lines. Musicians, they're practicing their craft long before you buy that ticket and show up that night for that concert. What's your balance look like? You cannot play video games and TikTok videos all day long. You cannot play a sport all day long. And you're all very happy to hear you can't be in the classroom all day either. But what is your balance? And what works for you might not work for the person next to you. You have coaches that are on you. You have teachers that are on you. You have parents that are on you. But it's up to you to start figuring out what's the appropriate balance. That's balance. And character, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. Because it is the responsibility of every student. You're not every student. You are a cut above. If you weren't, you wouldn't be in this room. So it's the responsibility of every student. But here, it is a much higher bar to be aware of social media dangers and consequences. You must be cognizant of what you post, what you like, what you dislike, even what you comment on. Because you never know how long that thread goes. And you see it every day. You see it with the entertainers, you see it with the musicians, and you definitely see it with athletes. When I talk about the same message that I tell a player on the New York Yankees, you have to take that post down. Or what were you thinking when you wrote that, when you got traded to the Oakland A's, despite being a very, very proud right-winged Republican? I mean, these are the little things. And I put that in quotes. Little things that could create absolute firestorms. It is no different for you. But what's on the line for you? That college that is judging far more than your athletic ability or what your GPA or your SATs are. They are digging more into the person, not the player. And it could be the difference between literally getting into the school or getting rejected. Forget about playing. All because of something that you posted, liked, disliked, or commented on. Social media, extremely dangerous weapon. Being brave in behavior. I hear it all the time. Well, you know, you're really brave to take that shot. Took that hit going across the middle. I get it. Ridiculous use of the word. You know what's being brave? Stepping up. You see something, you say something. You hear someone, you tell someone. Who's that someone? An adult. Why? Because in this world where, oh, you know, you tattled on me. Oh, you know, I can't believe that you aired us out. You're now in a world where you might be part of a group thread you don't want to be a part of. You might have been tagged in a post and you can't get yourself off of. And that thread or that post is going to sink your ship before it even leaves the dock, and you had nothing to do with it. Somebody has to step up and be brave to say, this ain't right. Tell an adult before this becomes a disaster. Because the person who is going to suffer most from it is you. Whether you are directly or too often indirectly involved. That's being brave. We'll talk about that. Volunteering in your community, it is not hard to be selfless. It is not hard to be kind. In a world where everyone is so selfish, the camera's always on us. Look at us, look at me. What can you do for me? What are you doing for someone else? How are you giving back? I told you, life has become, especially if you want to go to college, it is more about the person. You're going to go off into the real world. You're going to go to college. You're going to choose a major. They're going to teach you what you're studying. They can't teach you what's here. They can't teach you that person of who you are and what's inside. That is being selfless and kind and being a volunteer right here in the Bellmore-Merrick community. And finally, leaders in anti-bullying. You want to wear that uniform. You want to walk down those hallways. You want people to come to your games, cheer you on, high-five you. It is your responsibility to be a leader in anti-bullying initiatives, not the bully. That's how we'll end today. That's how we'll end today. And when you want to hear me get fired up and passionate, I'm telling you right now, some of your biggest favorite star players are the biggest bullies in the clubhouse or the locker room. The inside knowledge that I have that I will frankly never really share because I can't breach the trust that is given to me would blow you away. So it's not just at the high school or the middle school level, it is all the way to the pro level. But I can tell you where it starts right here. It starts right here. And I have represented players who can't get jobs in this country based on their reputation of character because no one wants to deal with them. And they are losing literally millions of dollars and their legacy as a result of it. All right, so as we go through this, social media dangers and consequences, what not to do, what not to say. Now, we're moments away from bringing up my very courageous volunteers, and they don't know what they're going to participate in, but let me kind of get into a couple of hypotheticals. Not saying that they would happen here in this community, not saying they'd happen to you, not saying they'd happen to your friend, but let's just talk hypotheticals. So the first is, who would give me the rap fans again? Oh, let me see the rap fans. All right, perfect. First example is, this is what happens when you put this in your back pocket. First example is, you're a rap fan, it doesn't matter who the artist is, Drake, Post Malone, the new album drops, the lyrics scroll now up on the Apple iTunes, right? And you hear that one song and you're like, this is my song, you screenshot it, you send it out to a couple friends, maybe you throw it on Snapchat, perhaps even post it on Instagram, and what you fail to realize when you send out that song lyric that is just a bunch of like hard to see grayish words as it's scrolling up on Apple is the N-word. And I don't care if that N-word ends in the A. You decided to take that and share that. And the moment that you sent that out, and that song lyric, that screenshot has the N-word, that is no longer the organic thought of the artist and the lyric. It is your organic thought. And now, moving forward, you will be classified exclusively as a racist. This community will see you as the racist. The outside world will see you as the racist. Your parents have now raised a racist child. Your team, your teammates, it's a racist team. The athletic program, the school, the community, racist culture. That is what you have done, whether it was directly or indirectly intentional, by not paying attention to that careless, mindless, let's just take out this little quick screenshot and send it out to our friends. Just a hypothetical, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'll give you another one. The TikTokers, let me see it. Who likes to make the videos? Come on, don't be afraid. Now you think that I'm going to put you on blast here. All right, I already saw your hands first time around. So you're making a TikTok video, everyone's having a good time, it's a school day, you're going to do something fun, you're in someone's basement, everyone's dancing around. You can control what you do, you can control what you say, but you can't necessarily control that of others. And someone from the back yells, "This is so gay." You know exactly how that was being used. That is a homophobic slur. And as if it wasn't bad enough to be the racist, now you're a homophobe. Same type of thing. You're a homophobe, your friends, they're friends with a homophobe, your parents raised a homophobic kid, your team, it's a bunch of homophobes, the athletic program, the high school, the culture, homophobic. All because of that one comment, that there were 6, 8, 10 of you, you didn't say it, but you are going to be judged by your peers, and that person in the back who said it has just made that entire group on that video all homophobes. Just a hypothetical. Like I said, not going to happen to you, not going to happen to your friend, not going to happen here. Just a hypothetical. Where are my 6 volunteers? Come on up, join me on the stage. How about a round of applause? You know who they are because you've already been selected. Come on up.
We need to represent more. Go. You and Iz. I don't know. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I think we're good. We got one there.
One of you. Oh, I guess he really wants to go. Not me. Here, wait.
I like the eagerness. All right, so here's the deal. 2 things. One, I appreciate the additional potential volunteers. We've got our 6. Now we've got 5. Now what happens?
Just go. Just one.
We're subbing out.
Sorry.
Now we're up to 7. Okay. We're subbing you now. This is like a World Cup game. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. All right. Now listen. I'm going to try this again. How about a round of applause for our volunteers? Much better. Well done. All right. So they don't know what they're about to participate in. I will tell you that a moment ago I gave you 2 very hypothetical, seemingly non-real world examples of both racist behavior and homophobic behavior. Each of you are going to take a line on this and you're going to read it to your peers. You can turn around. Now, stand wherever you need to stand, maybe not right in front, like the way you can see my shadow. And I want you to go line by line. There's 6 of you. I'll take the first 6 bullet points. Take your time, nice and loud, and then just continue to hand this on. You got it?
We'll lead off. Go ahead. A female freshman high school student in Virginia sent a private Snapchat to a friend.
Oh, sorry.
Where she used a racial slur. The video was then circulated and saved by another student who was a male African American.
The female student said that the word she used in the Snapchat was in all the songs we listened to.
I'm going to stop you right there. Sound a little familiar from our hypothetical a moment ago? We are listening to songs all of us listen to. Continue.
What she said in that Snapchat to her friend was, "I can drive N-word." It wasn't until her senior year, 3 years later, after she was accepted into the University of Tennessee and onto its national champion cheer team, that the post reemerged.
I'm going to stop again. So she says to her friend in what would be considered a private Snapchat that's supposed to disappear and not reemerge, but she sends, "I can drive N-word," and then 3 years later, after she is accepted onto a national champion cheer team, she reaches the pinnacle of everything she's worked for as an athlete. She's accepted onto the team. Here comes the post from 3 years earlier. Continue.
After the female student went to Instagram to voice her support of the BLM movement following the George Floyd protest, the African-American student who stated the video shared the original Snapchat on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, and called out her hypocritical and racist behavior.
It led to thousands of students nationwide calling out that female student for her use of the N-word. It resulted in public pressure on the university, as first her spot on the team was revoked, and then the college gave the student the ultimatum of withdraw, or Tennessee would resign its offer of admission.
She withdrew. She's now 19 years old. She still lives at home with her parents. Her mother said that the entire experience vaporized 12 years of her daughter's hard work and, quote, unfortunately going to affect her for the rest of her life. If you think that this example is far-fetched, for those of you that have been recently following what happened in Florida with the #1 prospect in the state of Florida who was singing along to a rap song that had that same racial slur, and all he did was sing along to the actual lyric and had his scholarship revoked within 48 hours to play at a national powerhouse in Florida, if you think that those examples that I gave you were far-fetched, can't happen to you, can't happen to your friend, can't happen to your teammate, then you are lining up to be this next student from Virginia and have and suffered the exact same consequences based on behavior like this. This is real life, real world, not day to day, not hour by hour, but literally minute by minute world type of behavior that you can be affected by and truly suffer the consequences of. You must take this incredibly seriously, especially with social media and the weapons that you are literally holding in your hands every single moment of every single day. How about a big round of applause for our volunteers? They've been great. So I talked about being brave, right? Here we are, brave in behavior. When you see something, say something, speak up.
Nice job.
Encourage better behavior. So using that example we're just coming off of, I told you, your job is to step up. See something, say something, hear someone, tell someone. It's no different here. So for a long time, I would give that presentation and I would use that example. And what I failed to do, and literally it was recently, what I failed to recognize is there's three key players in that example. You certainly have the girl that uses the racist remark. You have the student who gets the video, saves it, and then airs it out years later, right when she reaches the highest point of her life. What happened to the person who received the Snapchat? We don't know if it's a boy or girl, we don't know if it's a friend, a teammate, whatever. But somebody received a Snapchat with that racial slur. And we don't know anything about that person. And now I like to think, in this world, something that happened years prior, if that person was brave enough, recognizing that this language is inappropriate, that this behavior is inappropriate, if that person stepped up and told an adult, would the young lady who had that scholarship revoked, the offer rescinded, would she be in the exact same position? I don't know the answer to that question, but I'll tell you this. If that person who received that Snapchat was brave enough to tell an adult, it could have opened up the door to a communication, an education. Yes, what she said, awful. Absolutely needs to apologize and did. But at the same time, maybe it could have created something between the African-American student who was offended, the student who said it. It could have created for a dialogue about why that is so important and how that is so inappropriate. And maybe 3 or 4 years down the road, she'd still be at Tennessee. Maybe it would have never led to that. I don't know, but I think you're understanding the point. If that individual was brave enough to step up when they knew something was wrong, I believe a lot of outcomes and a lot of lives could have been different. You have that power in your hands every single day when you see something inappropriate, and you must take that seriously. Because it is you who suffers the consequences. That's the bottom line. All right, so volunteers in your community. I know I've got some really good people here. I just want to know, by a show of hands, how many people would consider themselves a volunteer? Raise your hand high. All right, that's a good group. How many people in this room that are volunteers volunteer with special needs students? Outstanding. See, I knew I had good leaders here. All right, then I'm really already telling you something you know. Here's the next question. How many people didn't raise their hands? So now, and this is not to put you on blast, to see how courageous you are. For those of you that raised your hand, I tip my cap. Who didn't raise their hand? Who is not currently volunteering with special needs? And it's okay, we're gonna talk about that, all right? I appreciate your honesty, thank you. Here's the bottom line. You can volunteer with tons of groups. Special needs, inner city, animal rescue, whatever you choose, I'm down with, but you gotta volunteer. Why? Because it is part of your responsibility as an athlete, as a person. I told you, they're gonna teach you what you're gonna learn in school. For those athletes, coaches coach for a reason. They're gonna teach you how to be a better player. They cannot teach you who you are inside. And the reason why I specifically choose special needs is because there is a common denominator among every single special needs student on the planet. And that is they did not choose to be special needs. But they do choose to be involved in sports and activities and clubs and all the activations you're choosing to be involved in too. And what they need is volunteers. They need leaders like yourself to step up and show up, set up the cones, run the clock, be coaches, sometimes teammates. That's what those organizations need. And they need your leadership in order to pull it off. And they are right here in these schools with you, in these communities with you on a daily basis, and have been with you for years. That is stepping up. And when you are applying to those schools, and they are measuring you as a student, as an athlete, they're going to measure you as a person. They see that selflessness. They can tell a little bit of who you are inside. Those are the individuals that they want walking their campuses. And in some cases, they might even reward you and pay you to be there. It's not why you do it. You do it because you're a good person and you know it makes your community better. but the opportunity to give back and be selfless and help those that have difficulty helping themselves, that is your job as an athlete. It is a responsibility of yours. We see it all the time. When the athletes give back, wherever they are, whatever they're doing, we always think a little more highly of them. It is no different for you. Because I'm going to tell you something that many of you with a tremendous amount of swagger already know. You are a celebrity in your town. You are a celebrity in the school you go to. As an athlete, there is a certain level of social status. You and I both know it. I deal with it at people at the highest level who get paid millions of dollars for it. Well, with that responsibility does come greater responsibility of this, of volunteering, of giving back. Because every single one of you, I don't care if you are the last player on the bench and considered the worst player on the team, and probably none of you are. There's somebody looking up to you. You are setting an example for someone behind you, whether it is a current teammate, someone your same age, maybe a year older, but definitely those kids in the middle school and the elementary school. You are a celebrity to them. And every single thing you do in this town is watched and likely probably recorded. So to give back, to set that example, to be selfless, to help others, that's your job. And for me, it starts with special needs. Because I will flip side this and say, I get it. That situation, volunteering in the special needs community, it could make you feel uncomfortable. I'm not trying to not see it your side. What do you think going to a college campus, hours away from here, with thousands of strangers, no friends, no family, think that's going to be comfortable? You better get comfortable with being uncomfortable real fast. Why not do it right here? In your community, when you have a chance to step up, make a difference, be a leader, and help those that have a tougher time helping themselves. That's my opinion on your responsibility as a volunteer. And we're going to end on bullying. I told you, class participation. So, lead on and off the field, not follow. It is your role as an athlete. I will tell you, traditionally when I speak at a high school, I know who the bullies are. I don't know if I can say that today because I know how many great leaders I have, but I will tell you what I do know. I know that there are people in this room that are athletes, that are leaders, and they know who their bully teammates are. I know you do. And I'm hoping, truly in my heart, that none of you are bullies, but you know who the bullies are. And sadly in sports, some of the biggest bullies are the best player. Is the person that gets to be the team captain with the C on their chest. That's not how it's supposed to be. And I will tell you, it is your job as an athlete to lead. Because one thing about being the bully is, many of you told me you want to go off to college. You said you even want to play at the next level. Well, there is something called karma. And right now, you are the big fish in the smaller pond. You are that leader. We've made that very clear. Well, when you go off to that campus hours away from home with thousands of strangers and you're that doe-eyed 18-year-old freshman and you are on a campus, whether you play or not, you are going to be surrounded by 21-year-old men and women adults who are going to tease you, who are going to haze you, who are going to bully you. And it is sad, but it is true. It is this ridiculous rite of passage. But I'm telling you now, when you are laying in bed at night wondering why this is happening to you, you can reflect back to this moment and think of how you treat people in this community, because it is called karma and it is real. Your job is to be the leader. You look around your building. You look around your stands when you're on the field, and you see all those people that come and support you. Well, I will tell you right now that we're going to look at a couple of photos here. And I want every single person to take a moment to really soak in these pictures. Focus maybe on the ones in the middle. And I'm not saying you're the person who would say it, but I want you to be honest and objective and say, would there be someone in my school, a couple lockers down, maybe even a teammate of mine, that if this kid who just moves to Long Island and is walking down the hallways of your school, is this kid going to be called names? I'll give you a couple of names. If you agree with me, just say yes. Would this kid, by someone in your school, I don't care if it's just one person, would someone call this kid fat? Yes? Yes. And be loud. I mean, this is where I want you to use your voice, because this is real. Would this kid be called a dork? A loser? Would people judge him to be unathletic? So we've got some fat, dork, loser, unathletic geek, right? Okay, so this kid's walking down your hallway. And that kid, whether it is a boy or whether it is a girl, hears that type of remark every single day. From the moment they get to school to the moment they get home. And unfortunately, because of those weapons I talked about, it doesn't end. It doesn't stop when the bell rings. It's because of Snapchat. It's because of Instagram. It's because of group threads. It's because of social media, which creates that bullying to be 24/7. Boy, girl, doesn't matter if it's high school, middle school, or elementary school. And like I said, it's not teasing. It's not joking. It's bullying. And it is an epidemic, and you are watching these kids take the most extreme of measures to make the bullying stop, and you know what I'm talking about. So it is your job when this kid's walking down the hallway to protect them, to knock it off. You hear someone say it, you want to get on the field, you're going to go toe-to-toe with that opponent, your arch rival. Sometimes maybe a little internal struggle against a teammate, they're not working hard enough, they're showing up late. You're willing to challenge them, but the kid who's getting absolutely abused by one of your friends, one of your teammates, and God forbid, hopefully not you, you're not willing to interject and be a leader for them. I'm telling you right now, it is your responsibility. You want them to come to your games, cheer you on, high-five you down the hallway. It is not hard to stop by, say hello. You see them sitting by themselves in the cafeteria, ask how their day's going. See them walking down the hallway, they get book dropped, help them, pick them up. Hey man, sorry about that. Let me help you out, get to class. Or you run into them at a pizza place on a Friday night. How was your week? They went through COVID. They've got a tough time. I promise you this. These kids have a much harder life than you do on a day-by-day, hour-by-hour, minute-by-minute basis. And it is your job to step up and lead to protect that kid. Because I started this presentation with ability. I told you what mine was. And I told you, every single one of you have an ability. Well, I want to conclude by sharing, for those of you in this room, and I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, I'm not going to ask you to say yes. I know there are people in this room because I prepare for every presentation. I know there are people in this room who are being bullied. It might be your best friend. It might be siblings. It might be parents. It might be teammates. It might be strangers. But I know you're being bullied, and for every single one of you, I want you to listen to me closely. The bullying stops now because you have a special ability inside. That ability is going to become part of your identity, but more importantly, your Teflon. You're going to take that ability from the inside and you're going to bring it to the outside. And you are going to use two core qualities to couple with that ability. One is courage. The other is confidence. And the reason I could choose those two terms, the reason why I could say to you, I know you have courage and you have confidence, is because you're athletes. It takes courage to show up every day, to practice, to play, to put the work in the off season. That takes courage. You know it and I know it. And confidence? This room is not short on confidence. This room probably leads the league in swag. I know you have confidence because you're an athlete. You look up the definition of confidence, the word ability is in it. So you've got the courage, you've got the confidence, and you're going to take that ability that you already have and do better than every single person out there. You're going to mesh those three together, and I'm telling you, it is going to become your Teflon. And there isn't a bully on the planet who can penetrate it. But it is up to you to commit to finding that ability, believing in that confidence, and absolutely gravitating toward that courage you have. And when you do, your life is going to change, starting today, through the rest of high school, into college, and frankly, life. And the reason why I can stand on this stage and explain to you, you've got ability, you've got courage, you've got confidence, you take that formula, I promise you your life will change for the better, is because the fat, dork, unathletic, loser, geek that's in these pictures has been talking to you for the last 30 minutes. That's me in those pictures when I was your age. And I'm living proof. It's not about how and where you start in middle or high school, but rather how and where you go on your journey in life. Every single one of you, you're actually agents, just like me. I have 75 clients that I'm responsible for. You have one. Who's your client? It's yourself. And every single one of you, you are still writing the life story as the agent of your client. It's up to you how you want to write the rest of it. every single one of you, you're holding the pen. As a society, it starts with you as the student athlete. Athletes, coaches, parents, teachers, administrators, everyone here in your community in Long Island have to stop being part of the bullying problem and commit, beginning with your leadership, to be the solution. I appreciate being here today. My hat's off to Mr. C and the entire team here that brought me in. Thanks so much for having me this morning, and good luck this evening. And I'm happy to take any questions. We got a couple of minutes, I think. I'm going to let Mr. Caballero tell us how much time we have. If anyone has any questions, including about how my life once upon a time started, I have nothing to hide. Anybody have any questions?
We have time.
We've got some time. Anybody have anything, including from some of our coach and teacher adults? Is that your hand up, or are you stretching because I was too boring? Hey, look, I pride myself on having some awareness. I mean, I get it. All right, so, and I didn't have to come down, and I didn't have to, I mean, look, there have been times I've given this presentation where I had to be like, come on, guys, really? Am I that boring? Really? Do you want to come on up and help me? No. I think you would help. That's the nice part about being in this leadership group. I mean, I will tell you, like, you guys were unbelievable. Round of applause for you guys. Come on. I will tell you, this was an awesome group. It really was. All right, so listen, I don't want to hold you up, and I don't know if we want to dismiss you too early. And I'm happy to tell you stories about baseball or being an agent, or I always get the same questions like, who's the most famous person in your phone, or whatever. But nobody really has any questions at all about anything.
Peter, nothing? I'll ask a question.
All right, well, I think we have one from a student, then we'll get started. What sport did I play in college? I played baseball at Stonehill College, which is now Division I. And the best part for me is that my freshman year, I played when they were, well, I played 4 years, but my freshman year as a D2, we were 4-37. We were the worst team in all of Division II. But now people think I must have been pretty good because they're D1. So, but I was a baseball player. I played all 4 years. I was also a broadcaster, broadcasted all the basketball and the football games, and hosted a radio talk show host, but blended that with baseball. And here I am 25 years later, still working in baseball and having the chance to do some pretty cool stuff. So. Anybody else? Any other questions? Go ahead. Who's my biggest client? Good question. It depends how well you know baseball. But as a firm, I think this one individual has absolutely emerged to be our biggest client, and that was the World Series MVP, Jeremy Pena. It was pretty big, but I think if you follow baseball, you would know names like Salvador Perez, who's first ballot Hall of Fame catcher one day. We also represent probably the future of the game in Adley Rutschman, who's the catcher for the Orioles. I personally represent some of you with the Yankees. Higashioka's my guy. I'll actually see Higgy next week. It's a harder question to ask, but through the years, my firm, and I still deal with them to this day, guys like Piazza, which for some of the Mets fans puts a smile on your face, Barry Bonds, George Brett, Ricky Henderson. I mean, these are more for your parents' age, but I've been very lucky to work for a firm that's represented some star players. Anybody else? Go ahead. How did I get into them? So yeah, the one thing that I want to just kind of adjust on Mr. C is like, I represent baseball players. Those are the ones I deal with. But I deal with agents, and I deal with players, and I deal with managers, and I deal with individuals across all platforms because, and I could probably just go to my phone and I bet you there's one on it right now. When I get a text because a player wants to go see Post Malone, or do they want to go see Morgan Wallen, or do they want to go to a Titans game next week in Nashville, or they want to go see a Lakers game in LA, I'm the person that has to call to get that done. And as a result of making that call, you form a new relationship. You form a friendship, or you form a business partnership. And depending, it's just like you get what you get out of it, right? You put the work in, you'll get something out. The access in the individuals in my phone is really pretty, because of the players in the job, it's pretty expansive. So you go out for coffee, or you go to a meeting, or you get invited to a game, and you sit in a suite, and you get to be around the players. But you also get to be around the talent, the actors, the musicians, their management, but then they want to get to know the baseball players. So I might show up to a Knicks game with 2 or 3 guys on the Yankees. Well, here come the Knicks. They want to meet those guys on the Yankees. So it all kind of meshes, which is why I said at the beginning, in those conversations, What I'm talking about for someone who represents a player on the Giants or on the Knicks or anyone else, the room for error just doesn't exist, right? We're susceptible to the same problem. And frankly, the leadership starts with me, right? If I'm not being open and honest and having those educations with those players, then who is? So I find it to be very similar. We're both agents, like I said. You represent yourself. You gotta have that conversation with yourself, but going back to some of the end with your teammates and challenging them about being better and not being bullies, that's your job to lead. So I know I took a short question and expanded the answer, but I hope it makes sense. I think we have time for one more question. You have one.
Oh, I was going to ask you a question about whether or not you were bullied. How did you overcome it? And then did someone ever stick up for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you. I had one person just say, he looked at the pictures and he goes, "How did you do it?" It's fair. It's a fair question. I will tell you that despite how the outside looks, in 8th grade, I still won that superlative of most talkative. I still won that superlative of loudest. My senior year, I won most friendliest, or most friendly. You know, what was on the outside didn't define what was on the inside. It took nothing away from my ability. But then all of a sudden, you grew a couple inches and you got contact lenses, and you happen to be the best baseball player in the grade at that age, and as a senior, and then literally in college too. You got to know what that ability is, and you got to really believe in your courage and your confidence. This part is very surface. It's almost no different with your social media friends. I'm sure many of you have social media friends who've never met the person. How can you define that person or classify that person as a friend? So for me, I always knew who I had. I had 2 or 3 core friends to this day. When I come to New York, I fly across the country, that's where I stay. I don't get a hotel. I go stay with those same people who, when I was in an auditorium like this 25 years ago, nothing's changed. So you know who those kind of ride or die people in your life are, that absolute anchor core. Those people helped me get through. I was never lonely. Sure, I was bullied, I was picked on, I would sit in that cafeteria, I got abused. I also didn't live in a social media world, so I always wonder how much more challenging it would be. I can tell you the answer. Incredibly challenging, like really, really hard. But I knew what I had. I knew the ability I had courage, I had confidence, I wasn't afraid, I held my head high. It worked out for me. And every single person in this room, you're in the exact same position. You truly are. You control your own destiny. You're holding that pen, writing your own story. You're the agent of your client. I mean, I can go all day with these adages, but they're all real life, real world applicable. So I was lucky, I had friends, and that they weren't embarrassed like what I looked like or, you know, always stuck by me, but I knew who I was inside. So I think I'll end on that only because I know that we're gonna dismiss soon, but I will say this, Mr. C has my contact information, you know, my email, whatever. I am just so impressed, and I will tell you right now, as someone who gets to do what I do, I'm not easily impressed. I'm not saying that because I'm here. I am so incredibly impressed with the group of student-athlete leaders here, from your attention to, frankly, your consideration, but also how locked in you are. I see a lot of nodding heads, and it's not about me and my message, it is about you. And so for you to commit to not only this organization, but to your responsibility as an athlete, as a student, as a contributing member to your community, I can't give you a bigger round of applause. So truly, once again, a round of applause for you because you deserve it. All right, I'm going to give the microphone to Mr. C. He's got my email. If anybody wants to reach out for any questions, was too shy to ask, wants to stay in touch, please let me know.
All right. So I've had Mark's here because I've had the luxury of hearing him speak several times. So we've become friendly. I don't know where he just went, but oh, there he is. We've become friendly over the course of the last couple of years. And Mark, you never cease to amaze me. I mean, captive speaker, but even a more captive audience. I want to thank you guys as well. Let's give it up for Mark. Let's give it up for Mark. I also want to thank, you know, your advisors. You know, this was a pipe dream pre-pandemic. And when I went to Ms. Ridioff, she looked at me like I had 7 heads when I said, we're going to change athletes, helping athletes. So to see this come to fruition, you know what I mean? We couldn't do that without these 6 here, so let's give your advisors an applause. And I want to thank Mr. Volpe, who's the Director of Transportation, who coordinated all the buses for you guys here today. And just one last thing before we dismiss. So Mepham, there are 2 buses out there. Mepham, you're gonna go on bus 10, okay? So when you get out here, Sean, Taylor, bus 10. Calhoun and Kennedy are gonna go on bus 11, but Calhoun is gonna go first, all right? Because they're right up the road. Then they're gonna come back and pick up Kennedy, okay? Again, Mark, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. Safe travels back to the left coast. All right, so.